Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you're joining us from. We're very happy to see so many of you here slowly trickling in. Good to see the number on a Thursday afternoon here in India. We have a global audience, and that's one of the reasons why we are also doing this in English. Great to have so many of you here. I would also like to take this opportunity to thank Glocal for their support. This is our second session of the Glocal Evaluation series. We had one yesterday, and a lot of you who've registered for today as well joined in yesterday. Good to see that kind of a support that we are getting. I would also like to take this opportunity to talk a little bit about who we are, what Fourth Wheel is as an organization, especially for the benefit of those of you joining us for the first time. We are a research and advisory team working with organizations that work on social change. We help them understand what's working, what's not working, what to do, how to improve. We do a bunch of these things. And if you'd like to know more about our work and want to stay connected, drop us an email at hello@thefourthwheel.com. We're always happy to start conversations with every one of you. Before we move into today's session, I would like to talk a little bit about what are we really talking about. A lot of you have already worked with AI, understand what AI is. And some of us, like me, probably are very new to the space. We're not very sure what AI is, especially when it really needs to be applied on the ground for social impact. So quickly, just to give an understanding of what we will be talking about, we will be talking about AI, but we will try to less jargonize it. We will also try to talk about this beyond the hype of AI that we see everywhere. Open LinkedIn, open social media, any social media, Twitter, Instagram, everywhere we see AI. But what really are these two letters? At least I don't know that yet. So we have a great panel here with us. First up, we have Tony D'Souza, who's the co-founder of 10X Labs. And we have next Sweety Pathak, who is a director at SNEHA. She leads their maternal and child health program. We have Rachna with us. Rachna heads the engagements at Apurva AI. And then we have Apurva, who leads data tech AI at Dasra. In the interest of time, I would not be reading out their bios, but my colleague will paste them in the chat box, and you can know more about them, get in touch with them on LinkedIn, and I'm sure they're also very open to exploring what all our interests are. So on that note, we will move to our panel. We will probably take a little bit of time collecting their opening thoughts and opening remarks, what their journey has been like, and what are they doing with AI. Before we move into that, I think it's also a great chance for us to know what's on the minds of our participants. What exactly are they thinking? What is their understanding of or prediction of what the future of AI is like? I probably wait to get an acknowledgement that the poll is up. Going to quickly pull the chat box here to see if the poll is up. Yes, I see that on my screen as well. This is honestly, we don't have a right answer or a wrong answer. So please feel free to take a wild guess. It could be a hope, it could be a worry, anything that you think AI is going to do for the social impact and the development sector. Yes, it's over to you, Tony, and then you can pass on the mic to Rachna, and then Sweety, and then Apurva.
Thank you so much, Jayashree. Am I audible? Awesome. Thank you so much. Super excited to be here. honestly sharing the stage with wonderful folks and peers from the sector. I'll take a moment to sort of quickly introduce myself, then a bit about the work that we do, and then also perhaps talk a bit about why we're here, right, with AI and everything under the sky with it. Um, I've been in the sector now for the last 9, 10 years. A lot of my work was in the education space, livelihood space, health, and the governance space. I often joke that I've done everything from Jadu Pocha to M&E to curriculum to product, but I feel I'm still learning in the sector with everything that we do. Um, Saw this huge gap in the sector with technology and data capacity as a whole. We are doing some amazing work in the sector, but I think we are really lagging behind by 30 to 35 years compared to the corporate sector in terms of how we are even leveraging tech and data tools in our work, right? It could be to either improve our impact or to scale our impact. And scale not just means, the width of it, right? It's also the depth of scale. So that's where for me, there's an excitement for what tech and data can do for the community and for the impact sector. So 10x Impact Labs largely works on being a technology and data consulting organization for the sector. We provide services to nonprofits and philanthropies to help them improve and scale their impact with tech and data across the board, right? At the same time, we feel services are not enough in the sector. So we also partner with philanthropies to co-design programs for the community and for the impact for the nonprofit sector. We also curate learning and knowledge tools in terms of what tech and data can do for the sector using practical learnings from our community peers, right? Because there's a lot of organizations now who have actually leveraged tech and data tools. So there's learnings around what should be done, what cannot be done. So that's a bit about what we do at 10x. To sort of kick us off in terms of with AI, right? I'd like to start with saying that I think a bit on the foundations of AI. I think we're largely still in the early stages of AI, right? In the late 1950s or 60s is when Alan Turing first asked this question of what would it mean for machines to think. And I think that's why we are here today with this simple question of what would it mean for machines to think. I think from 1960s, it took us nearly 70 years to even first have the first models of GPU or big data sets in the 2010s. And in 2017 is when I think Google came out with its report on or its paper on what does transformers look like, right? So in 2020, ChatGPT came out, leveraging the paper on Google. So today we have ChatGPT, which everyone's excited about, but AI has been there to the largest time. But today, if we have to call out at which era of AI we are at the era of narrow AI, right? Narrow AI largely signifies that you have general purpose AI tools today that help you do day-to-day tasks better. And we're largely still there. We're not yet in the layer where AI is thinking on its own or helping you do your work better, right? We're still in the space of early stages of early birth of AI. And I think there's a bit of excitement there. At the same time, I think there's a lot of excitement also around the pros and cons of it. So I think we'll dig deeper into that in our conversation later. But I'm largely excited here because I think we have an opportunity to talk about what will narrow AI look for our impact sector, what will look for our work within the MEL and data space that we all work in, and how can it help us, largely improve the work that we do with the communities. With that, I'll sort of give it back to you, Jayashree. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I think we can now move on to the next panelist, Rachna.
Thank you so much, Jayashree. And thank you, Tony, for your introduction, right? Amazing to hear about why you're here and also this quick snippet around the history of AI and possibly the future. Hello, everyone. My name is Rachna, and I head engagements in Apurva.ai. We are a part of a larger foundation called the Center for Exponential Change, which is co-founded and funded by Ms. Rohini Nilekani and Mr. Nandan Nilekani in India. And we also have global partners in African continent, in Brazil, and in the US. So a quick overview of what do we do? What do we stand for in Apurva.ai? For us, it is all about problem solving at population scale. As you can imagine, we come from the ecosystem of folks who've created Aadhaar, who've created UPI, and all population at scale digital interventions for the country, which is now being adopted by other developing countries. And even now in maybe developed countries have understood the great work that we're doing. So with that in mind, our objective has been, how do I amplify the voices of communities whom we serve? How do we keep them at front and center, which we all wish to do, and we do it as well, but how can we do it in a more scalable and sustainable manner at all points of our journey with our communities, right? So in that context, for us, technology is actually a lagging indicator, but we take a problem-first approach. And to be able to help in solving problems at scale, we have a framework of how do we listen to communities, how do we learn from communities, and how do we act for and with communities in a scalable and sustainable manner. later on, maybe I can speak a little more on how have we used technology to enable all the change leaders in the sector to do that across the spectrum. But for now, at Apurva AI, all that I would like to say is voices of communities is at the front and center of all our work. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Just to maybe give everyone a heads up, there will be a mention of Apurva AI and Apurva, our panelist. So please pay attention when you hear these words. They are different. It's over to you, Sweety. We'd love to hear from you what you've been thinking about AI.
Thank you, Jayashree. First of all, thank you so much for the opportunity to share our work. And I'm really excited to be a part of this discussion, mainly because I will get to learn so much from all of you. So I work to improve the health of mothers and children living in urban informal settlements of Mumbai and its surrounding cities. By working with these communities for over 25 years now, we realized that we should have accessible, reliable information for these women, especially 24 into 7 whenever they need it. At SNEHA, we provide door-to-door counseling using behavior change method, which is definitely very meaningful and very, very effective. But yet, at the same time, it is very time-consuming as well as resource-intensive. Hence, we thought of exploring AI, possibly because at least we can send routine, repetitive, regular preventive health messages to these mothers and for their children, so that our community organizers, frontline workers, as well as government frontline workers can mainly focus on high-risk cases and emergency cases. And also, we wanted to scale up our work because we have got evidence-based interventions and a lot of learnings and best practices. So we wanted to reach to many more people, yet maintaining the quality and personal touch. So we thought maybe AI could be one of the supportive solutions to our some of the problems. Hence, we wanted to explore AI. So thank you so much. I will share many more in the next round.
Thank you so much. It's over to you, Apurva.
Thank you, and good afternoon, everyone. It's really a delight to be here. Thank you, Fourth Wheel Impact and the global team for organizing this. We at Dasra have been driving catalytic philanthropy, advisory, partnership with policy and other technology players for well over 25 years. And now what we are trying to do with the advent of AI is to see the integration of AI holistically, not just the generative AI, which has become increasingly popular in the last 3 years, but overall artificial intelligence, machine learning, NLP, chatbots in its different formats, quantitatively and qualitatively, across our internal work, as well as across the work of our CSOs and philanthropists, whom we work very closely with. So I think Tony mentioned how AI has been there for a really long time. It is not really a new thing that has come up in the last few years, although the LLMs and the generative AI have really reached a way where they can impact maybe in the last 3 to 4 years, but there are many more ways in which we can leverage AI, both quantitatively and qualitatively. And that's the inquiry as well as the implementation that we at Dasra are very keen on driving. And it's very interesting to be on this panel because all the other panelists are some of the partners that we already work with, Apurva AI, 10x Impact Lab, SNEHA, and we've had such an amazing experience on our collaboration and the work that we do together, and been a big fan of all the work that the organizations are doing. And yeah, we're only here to take it forward. Back to you, Jayashree.
Thank you so much. I'm just going to pick your brains on a couple of phrases and words that all of you used. Tony, when you mentioned narrow AI, what exactly are we talking about? And for someone in the social impact space and the development space, working in the grassroots, what do we understand by this? Also, please feel free to tell us, what do you mean by Jugaad innovation?
Thanks, Jayashree. So narrow AI, nothing but today, instead of talking about AI, right, let's take a small step back into technology itself. In any work that we do today is a combination of workflows. To get from point A to point B, you have to follow a series of steps that gets you to the end outcome. Let's say we're doing MEL, right? With MEL work, where do we start? We start with defining the indicator, defining the outcome or the impact first, then defining the indicators to understand if we have achieved the impact, then defining the theory of change, then talking about the designing of the questionnaire, then collecting the data, then analyzing the data, and then doing other steps, right? So each thing is a step-by-step process. Now where did technology even come in, right? Technology came in to make some of our workflows better, to automate some of our workflows, right? To go from point A to point B. Not that it automated the entire workflow, but parts of the workflow. Then we were able to stitch a bunch of technology bits together to make that entire workflow as a product or a platform, right? So fundamentally, that's what technology has largely done over the longest period of time. It's largely has helped you automate workflows. Now, where does narrow AI come in? It's very much similar to that, right? Largely, each workflow has one activity that it does. So today for data analysis tools, you have a bunch of data analysis AI bots, right? These bots just help you do quantitative well. At the same time, there are other AI bots that help you do qualitative data analysis well. Similarly, for doing research, there's Perplexity, which does that quite well. Even ChatGPT 4.0 does that quite well. So narrow AI is nothing but, and this is definitely a layman definition of this, right? This is sort of boiling it down to the core of it. But actually, narrow AI is nothing but a specific workflow or step that a tool that will help you do it and an AI tool that will help you do it is what we call under the narrow AI bucket. There's also a much more sophisticated definition of it, so I won't go into that at the moment. So today, as of today, what we can look at is we've all, I think, definitely have used ChatGPT. We have definitely used Gemini. At the same time, all these tools are very much general purpose AI tools. They are made to sort of help you write with your content better, help you write with your articulation better, help you be as a thought partner in some of the things that you do. But fundamentally, what are these AI tools doing? They're actually not thinking for themselves. What they're really doing today, and this is funny, right? All of us, even I was, by the way, of the opinion that, oh, AI today is thinking for us. But AI is not thinking for us. AI today has gotten trained on so much of data that it's able to take very good guesses. It's become really good at taking very good guesses. That's all. So what is ChatGPT doing today? It's over a period of time, it's being coded to sort of give you very good guesses of what the right response could be within the context in which you're asking. So not to go into more details of this, but at a high level, as far my understanding goes, narrow AI is more of nothing but today we are in a place where AI is still helping you do simple workflows correctly. And future where we are headed to, or where the excitement I think all of us are at, is what would happen when multiple AI tools come together, multiple narrow AI tools come together to create AI platforms, right? Or an AI ecosystem which will help you do an entire task or a workflow or an outcome at one go. So that's where I'll sort of share and I'll pause there. Let me go to quickly the second question that you asked, Jayashree, which is around Jugaad innovation. It's nothing but I think I'm sure Apurva, Rachna, and Sweety will agree. In the sector, all of us are working with resource constraint. I think it's a miracle if some of us have abundance of resources by any chance. I think all of us are working resource constraint. So Jugaad in Hindi is nothing but being frugal, right? Frugal is one of the words you can use, but frugal really doesn't capture the meaning of Jugaad. With 10x, when we started, we realized in the sector, we need to do two things, right? One, we have to understand what it will mean to build and use technology and data and AI tools in the social sector, because it's not the same as the corporate world. It's definitely a lot different. At the second level, we also realize that you can't operate with the same mindset as if you have abundance in your hand, right? You have to operate with an approach of with the least minimal resources. That means we have to not build our own tools, but rather depend or partner with others who have already built something. At the same time, I think the sector is amazing in the way we have all done Jugaad, right? It is amazing that today we are even having this space, we're able to learn from each other, which I don't think is much common in other spaces, right? Where you can learn so much from what else others are doing within their own work at this depth. So that's a bit on the Jugaad side. Also keeping time in note, I'll sort of pause on this. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Yes, we can definitely get more deeper insights from you on how do we really apply it in the sector. Maybe Rachna, if you can all tell us what do we mean by the indicators? What are lagging indicators? What do we understand by that for the space?
Sure, Jayashree. Like how Tony was mentioning, right? AI, or rather tech, has been there for the longest time, and we all have adopted that. Even in fact, if we were to look at Zoom, I'm sure there are certain kind of ML models that are running behind, or even behind our WhatsApp, behind our Instagram, everything. But none of us are actually saying, hey, what is the technology behind it? What we're actually looking at it is, what am I getting? How am I getting to use any particular application? How is it making my life better, right? Or adding value to my life? And hence, technology is an afterthought, right? And we should not be thinking, oh, does this technology make sense to me? No, it has to be the other way around. What any technology has to offer, is that useful to me, right? And hence, that's the reason we take a problem first approach, because any problem can be solved in multiple ways, right? The same M&E that we do, we can do it with paper and pen. So can we do it with a Google form, right? So the thing is about how do we keep getting more efficient and effective in all the work that we are doing, and look at that aspect and not really the technology aspect per se.
Yes, thank you so much. Lot more questions in my head, but in the interest of time, we will get into our next set of questions. To start with, Tony, if you can talk to us about how do we really apply this, and if you can tell us, give us an example of where it was applied and what results, if we've already seen it.
Great. What I can do perhaps is share a story or share a work from what we're doing at 10x. So at 10x, one side that we do is we work with nonprofits and philanthropies as a tech enabler partner. But we realize that this is not accessible, right? You're only able to work with the larger, bigger nonprofits, the bigger philanthropies. The goal with 10x was never to work with only the larger organizations. Our focus was what would it mean to also work with the grassroots nonprofits, the mid-sized nonprofits, right? Because India in general, definitely don't have much idea on the global south, but on India, at least 80% of our organizations are in rural tier. They're not in the urban space, right? They're having less than 4 crores in annual budget. So we said service is not accessible to everyone. So how can we solve at scale? We again plus 100 to what Rashna said, right? You can't take a technology first approach in a lot of these things. So we usually take what we call a user first approach, right? We looked at in the sector what's the biggest problem, and one of the biggest consistent needs. Over the last 1 year, we spoke to 1,400 nonprofits, and one of the consistent things I think we got asked is, be it a nonprofit with 40 people MEL teams, be it a 40 people, organizations with 10 people MEL team or 4 people MEL team or 1 person MEL team or no MEL teams. Every organization needed some or the other kind of support with MEL. And that was very interesting for us. We're like, okay, why is this? Why are we consistently hearing this need for the MEL, right? And then we understood what is happening, right? To some extent, what we learned is one, in the sector today, we have only one MEL expert or multi-evaluation learning expert for every 500 to 1,000 NGOs perhaps. That's at a very estimates that we're talking. We still, I think data is still coming out around this. Second, even when you talk about MEL experts, if you put 10 of us in the room together, none of us, I think, have the same skill set, to be honest. We all have different skill sets. We also don't have a same graduation degree that we all come out of, right? Oftentimes, half of us become MEL experts because no one else is doing it within the organization. So MEL also within the group who is MEL community, right? All of us are also self-learning on the go. Continuously, I often see my colleagues or my peers, whenever there's any MEL project or efforts that we're doing, we're constantly first trying to learn what is the best practice and then implement it rather than approaching it as if we already know things, right? So fundamentally, the biggest gap that we saw, Jayashree and team, was there's a huge gap with MEL expertise in India. And to solve that, not only in India, right, perhaps also in the global south, but to solve that, the only solution you have today is two things. One, you either have, capacity building workshops that happen once in a while, but these workshops are not enough always, right? Workshops really doesn't fully fulfill the support that a smaller nonprofit or a mid-sized nonprofit needs with MEL. The second solution we have is what we also call MEL consultants, right? We have MEL consultants, but they charge, unfortunately, they have to charge around 2,000, 3,000 per hour. It's not accessible to everyone. So I said, what would it mean to have a MEL support for every nonprofit in India or every nonprofit in the global south? And that's where this, after a bunch of tinkering and speaking to around, 40, 50 more nonprofits, we came with this thought of what if we would have an MEL AI expert bot, right? Why do we need a MEL AI expert bot? Fundamentally, we said we need to augment a MEL expert's capacity within a nonprofit. So we came up with ChatME. So ChatME is nothing but an MEL AI expert bot. This is a product that 10x is right now working on. It's only around 12 weeks old. So please know that it's in the early stage of the work that we are doing. But in the 12 weeks old that it is, I'll quickly share an update on where it is today, and later perhaps I can talk more about the tool itself. In 8 short weeks, what the tool actually allows someone to do is just, MEL workflow, there are 8 things. If you go back to my conversation of narrow AI, right? There's 8 workflows within each MEL work that we all have to do. We have to, do the theory of change. We have to do the research of indicators. We have to design the questionnaire. We have to analyze the data. We have to collect the data. We said, how can we support with this using AI and technology? And when we looked at it, we realized we can actually automate everything except the data collection part. So today, the ChatME tool helps you do 7 out of the 8 steps that you do in ML, right? It doesn't do it 100%, but it's a start. Today, AI tools will help you make your work faster, cheaper, and better. That's what ChatME is trying to do, right? It's trying to make your work efficient, faster, better. At the same time, you still need a human in the loop. You still need a human or expert to really use the tool, right? So ChatME is nothing but a AI expert bot that anyone can access as a chat interface. They can ask the queries, or if it's a theory of change, it will help you do a theory of change. You can upload your document and do your entire log frame if you want. You can upload your document. You can ask it to create your entire questionnaire. It will do the baseline, endline, midline. You can upload your data set. By the way, data will be secure and won't be shared or visible to anyone. It will also analyze the data, quantitative and qualitative. But this is all at the early stages, right? This was the idea of the tool. We put this out in the public. We created the version 1 and we put it out in the public. In 8 short weeks, we had more than 300 nonprofits sign up on the tool and nearly 20 nonprofits using the tool as of today. And not just 20 nonprofits, I think also MEL consulting organizations taking the tool. And that was exciting for us. We're like, okay, this is created for nonprofits, but also consulting organizations are taking the tool. But this is still in version 1 phase. But what we're learning is quite interesting. We're really able to see how people are using this AI tool. To give one quick testing, story of a user, and I'll pause on this, is one of the first users we showed the tool to, who used the tool. She said, she was a health NGO's MEL expert. She said, I'm going to cry. This work literally took me 3 weeks to do. She was researching health indicators for her work. And I was able to do on this tool in just 5 minutes. And for me, that was the win. I think, like Rachna very rightly said, the value of AI tools is not about what AI is doing for you, but rather what is the outcome you're getting out of it. So the tool actually is contextualized to India. It is fed on more than 10,000 pages of data. It's only trained on education, health, and livelihoods as of today. And a bunch more things we have done, and I'll talk more about it perhaps. But I think for me, the win of the tool is largely around what it's doing for the user. This feedback also we're still getting on what could be improved on the tool, but perhaps later we'll get a chance to talk more about it. I'll pause here. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I think I hear a lot of things about training the data. And so I'm assuming it's the public data, public good that we can use for the benefit of the sector. Thank you so much. On that note, I think while you do mention it as tool, I think Rachna was particular that we don't call it tool, but she was mentioning it as platform, if I'm not wrong. So please come in, Rachna, and talk to us about what is the difference between a tool and a platform? What do we do as impact consultants?
Sure, Jayashree. Yes, so when we talk about platforms, what we are truly looking at is, can we connect multiple either organizations or multiple of our programs or anything that we're doing at different points in time all together, right? Though largely when we talk about platforms, it's about bringing multiple stakeholders together and being able to look at any problem and solution in a holistic manner. Because I think in today's times, more than any time before in our history, we know we are able to see how everything is working at intersections. And we can no longer say, hey, I'm only just going to look at the health aspects of things, but not look at what climate is doing to the health of people, or vice versa as well, right? So the idea about a platform is, how can we actually look at all this interconnectedness between the work that we're doing across the sector, all of us together, right? And if I have to talk about, say, some use cases on the M&E front, it is similar to what Tony was talking about, what they do at Apurva as well. We have something called as Apurva Impact product, right? And it is, again, based on the initial thing that I mentioned about voices of communities. And as we all know in our sector, we always go to people and we listen to them, right? And one of the biggest challenges that we've always found is, we as humans are the ones who are transcribing whatever our participant, our respondent is talking about. If it is very quantitative, yes, there is no bias or our own understanding and interpretation that comes in. But anytime there's any kind of a conversation, any qualitative, subjective answers that are being given, we are always just writing down, then we come back, and then again, all of us sit and interpret it in our own ways. And then we say, this is the problem, and hence this is a solution. that we're going to come up with, and I'm going to go implement the solution. And then again, I do an impact assessment at that time. So what we said is, what if we can actually keep dipping into our communities at different points in time, right? So can I do an assessment using technology, using AI on qualitative answers, right? All the conversations, all the voices. I send out a survey on WhatsApp, or I have an IVRS line. I ask my communities to respond through text, through audio, whichever works for them. And I'm able to analyze across that entire large data set as to what are the trends, what are the patterns, what is the real problem. And then again, maybe I'll come up with the solution. I'll go back to my community and ask for feedback. I implement my solution again, I'll keep going back to my communities as and when required and keep seeking feedback. And it's a continuous feedback loop, which is that much more important in today's times. And I think the sector has largely struggled to do this. Many a times, even our understanding of the problem is maybe a little dated to what it is in today's times, because we are also resource constrained, right? So now if we are able to do it in such a scalable and sustainable manner, then we'll be able to also, come up with solutions, impactful solutions as well, that much more rapidly. Some of the examples are also what we did for the Government of India, Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare, where we did this survey or assessment for the PM Kisan Yojana, right? There was a bunch that did in the manual form, and then we also did it using AI, Apurva Impact, and the results were comparable. And so the cost reduction was just so obvious, right? And even say when a problem is very new longevity by Ashoka is one such other example. And longevity is about how do we actually prepare the society for the aging population, which is growing, right? And so we all have assumptions, especially about this. So in Brazil, they went to the elderly population, they sent WhatsApp surveys and they collected the feedback, and they were able to actually understand this is the real problem, this is the real need. Now I'm going to go back to all the players in this ecosystem, right, from banks to healthcare, to education, to employment, whoever it is, to be able to actually come up with a holistic solution for this new problem that's upcoming. So these are just two examples, but yeah, feel free, everyone, to reach out to us, and we can definitely talk more on multiple use cases. Thank you.
Thank you, Rachna. I completely agree with you. And it's very interesting the way you talk about the balance between using technology and going to people to hear their voices. And I think that's a very good note on which we can bring in Sweety here to present her case study, which is from the grassroots about the people and how SNEHA has used technology in Bhiwandi. Sweety, it's over to you now. I will request my colleague to share her screen with the presentation. Yes, thank you so much.
Before I go into actual sharing of the case study, I'll quickly share that how did we start AI journey in SNEHA. So before we started thinking of incorporating AI as a solution, we did a landscape study to understand the digital access in the community. So we studied the mobile phone ownership, how many women are having mobile phone versus how many of them are sharing the phone with their families and husbands. Also, their language preferences. What is the best time they could be engaged with board? Also, we collected the local vocabularies that they use to describe the health solutions. So all these steps helped us co-designing the solution with full partnership with the community and system. Then we did the protocolized orientation and capacity building of program team as well as community for building the AI literacy. After that, when we were ready, then we integrated this solution with the existing systems and processes. So for example, now bot can send the protocolized preventive health messages to the women, whereas frontline workers can focus mainly on high risk and emergency cases. Also, we were very careful about the positioning of the AI in community. So we were very clear that team as well as the community should not take AI as a substitute or a replacement of a doctor. Hence, we continuously trained the bot in ensuring the escalation of the issues so that they can refer the users to the health system or government frontline workers. So these were mainly some of the processes that we started, and then I'll quickly share the actual case study. Can you go to the next? So now you know that we work in some of the toughest informal settlements. Hence, our 100% focus on designing the AI were on keeping our mind in understanding the requirement and need of the local context. So you phone internet availability, unavailability, or Android uses, comfort for their users. So I have already talked about that, because our aim was mainly to reach to those people who really need our services, despite anticipating that some of the challenges regarding like non-availability of internet, etc. We named our bot as Phone Wali Didi, which is elderly sister in Hindi. So main contents were on immunization, breastfeeding, and institutional delivery. I'll quickly share the four phases that we have so far had taken in the implementation journey of this bot. So we actually introduced AI ML, machine learning, in the second phase with 300 users, where we reviewed the responses of 63% for the understanding the appropriateness and accuracy. Main gap that we identified was in knowledge base, which we continuously sanitized and kept refining, so that then bot can really take the right responses for the queries. In the third phase, basically we used hook method. So you can see that we incorporated the elements of social protection schemes and public distribution system, especially mainly focusing on maternal and child health issues with 700 users. Still top queries were on breastfeeding and vaccination. By the time we started our fourth phase, we were really ready with some of the best practices. So first, we uploaded only government vetted guidelines and documents. We kept sanitizing these documents to minimize hallucination and inaccuracy. We also had a protocolized orientation, capacity building, and onboarding of these users, so that there is a less error. And more prompt engineering was also one of the most important aspects. Everybody will agree to that. I'll give you one quick example. So during the second and first, third, and first phase, 3 phases, women mainly asked about their concerns about regarding white discharges. But bot was not able to answer accurately, because mainly they spelled white as WAIT. But by the time, because we refined our knowledge base and prompt engineering, by the time it was fourth phase, where bot started answering correct, giving correct responses to such questions as well. So prompt engineering, knowledge-based sanitization was extremely important. And last, we already had a Dimagi's application called ComCare for data collection and Superset for data visualization. So we integrated these components with the chatbot, so that these bots can access the real-time information from the ComCare and give real-time responses to the women's queries. Yeah, you can go to the next. So a quick learning I'll share. Most of you definitely will agree the context, behavior, and tech readiness is very, very important. But building cross-functional teams early is also extremely important, because as Tony talked about Jugaad, and Jugaad definitely is my favorite word, because we always work in a resource constraint. So this is very important to pull out the right people from each of the team, right from technology to the program implementation to the admin, etc. Positioning of AI as an aid, not a replacement, I have already talked about, but this is important not only for the community, that community should know, but even program team, the implementation team should know that they are not providing these alternatives to the women for not going them to the doctor, rather as only understanding the preventive messages, getting the preventive messages. Focusing on knowledge-based design, prompt quality, real-time feedback, definitely is very, very important. Ensuring ethical data practices, informed consent, not that like we just take the consent and they said yes, but they should be properly explained about the entire process. Maintaining privacy and risk awareness. So for risk awareness, because I'm sure there is a constraint of time, I will only give quick example of the risk awareness. So we build our bots persona as a elderly sister. I talked about it. Now, when some of the women started asking some questions, kind of like with emotional questions, bot said that I'm a machine and not a human being. And then some of the women were really heartbroken. So we need to be very careful about telling the women about the risk associated with using AI. Another example, when women ask questions out of the knowledge base. So mainly when like women asked what kind of food they should eat so that they can deliver normally, or what kind of food they should eat so that they deliver white-skinned babies. So sometimes bot answered that you can eat coconut and milk and all white colored food, associating maybe color of the food with the color of the baby, which is not right. So we need to continuously to train our community and team about these aspects, which is very, very important. Backend system, we had Glyphic, Tech4Dev, Comcare, Dalgo, and the Superset dashboard. So one of the women said that thanks to the bot that now I have information at my fingertips. And we have some few photographs to show you. So these are some of the few photographs that like they are using. So basically it is very truly satisfying to see these community women so much efficiently using the AI based bot. But yes, there are a lot of steps before they start using it. Yeah, thank you. Over to you, Jashri.
Thank you so much, Sweety. I know there are many other case studies that you can bring up. We've also had discussions, and Fourth Wheel has also worked with you on different projects. Someday we hope to also talk about all those. Apurva, it's over to you now. And I think there was reason why we wanted to bring you in finally. You did use the word catalytic, and you act as a catalyst in different ways. Could you help us understand what are we talking about here? Who are the multiple stakeholders that we are working with? What are we all doing with AI?
Absolutely. Thanks, Jayashree. Yes, so I'll give a bit of summary of how Dasra operates in the ecosystem, right? So we use the word catalytic because we see our role as primarily succeeding in catalyzing different players, different stakeholders in the sector, and those stakeholders being communities which are directly being impacted, the CSOs or the civil society organizations, the NGOs, the partners who are producing technology, say the Apurva AI platform, the other AI platforms as well. The philanthropists could be foundations, could be funders, could be individual philanthropists, as well as the policymakers. So as we know in the sector, everyone who has been here, there are a lot of stakeholders who need to be having a seat at the table. And the real change happens when everyone comes on the same page and aligns to a goal that we start driving towards. So two of the key areas where Dasra spends time is firstly, working very closely with philanthropists as well as CSOs in a one-on-one advisory role. For philanthropists, it's about helping them disperse the funds in the areas of their interest as well as the areas of needs in the sector. With CSOs, it is about organizational development, capacity building, fundraising, navigating the systems and processes of the ecosystem, and more. We also have cohort programs where we bring together groups of NGOs to learn about technology, to learn about systems change, to learn about other needs. Some of those programs include the Data Catalyst program, the Data for Good Exchange, the Dasra Social Leadership program, and many more. With philanthropists, we have Giving Circles, Giving Pie, we have other cohorts where we catalyze their theory of change and their personal motivations and visions of how they see impact in the sector. So a lot is going on behind the scene when we do this connection of different stakeholders. We catalyze these connections so that change can actually happen when we have funds at the table, when we have specialized developers at the table, when we have ecosystem builders or catalyzers at the table, as well as we have the NGOs and the community voices being represented at the table. So I can double click on any of these areas in connection to our collaboratives, in connection to our catalytic funds, such as the Rebuild Fund, as well as our individual advisory roles and what we've been doing. One good example that comes to mind is how we participated with the global program of MasterCard, which is the AI to AI or accelerated inclusion through AI program, where we went through Indian NGOs who were already doing impact work leveraging AI. We had a competition of NGOs presenting their work. There was a selection, and then there was a grantee at the end. Be Kind, one of the NGOs that works for economic opportunities of small-scale beekeepers through a mobile digital AI-first technology, was the winner who we coached and supported towards the end. Similarly, there's a lot of internal initiatives like the fund that we manage for grassroots initiatives, the Rebuild India Fund, where AI is really going to be extremely catalytic in terms of efficiencies of how the current processes are going, as well as how we do our engagement and reach out to the end users. I love how we interpreted users and problems when Tony and Rachna were also answering their questions. And one of the interesting things that we observe, and I personally find very engaging, is how the problem looks different depending on the user that we are talking to, right? So different perspectives help us add to the holistic problem that we are talking about. And if I may take an example, if you talk to a CSO, they may be struggling into getting communication out to their communities or getting inputs in from their communities. When we talk about, say, a co-funder or a catalytic organization, it could be that we are unable to get reports or measurement metrics. But if we talk to communities at the end, the problem could be completely different. It could be about trust building. It could be about access. It could be just the timings at which they are being contacted. It could be about a network. It could be about so many different things. So the way we try to solve problems is to talk to each of these users independently and then combine all those insights into developing a holistic understanding of what's going on, and then approach it as that neutral advisor into bringing people together and figuring what is the right, or I wouldn't use the word right, but what is maybe the most optimal way into approaching that problem towards solution in a way that communities stay at the center. That's the core goal always, because those are who we are working for, but also other stakeholders, aspects of perspectives, as well as their needs and their visions are also met in the process so that collaboration can continue in a sustained manner. I'll take a pause there, but happy to double click on any of these.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'd also like to tell all our participants, please do drop in your questions in the Q&A box and we will start picking them up. If you would like to address it to anyone particularly here, please tag them and we'll do the same. We do have a very interesting question here on the application of AI to streamline the systems and processes of NGOs. And it's an open question. Anyone who wants to take it up, you can.
Happy to take the question, but would also request fellow panelists also to join in. Going to the conversations, if you see around, I think Rachna and Apurva and even Sweety talked about, AI is a larger technology. Within that, I think there are specific use cases for different users within the nonprofit. There's the program managers, there's MEL managers, there's the fundraising managers, there's the field level associates, there's the different kinds of team members within an organization. So AI, I think we can use in different components for different workflows. For example, in fundraising, so whenever we're looking at AI for our work, right, I would say take a small step back. look at what are the processes you're using today, right? What are the steps you're doing? For example, for fundraising, there's a series of steps you have to take. You have to source potential opportunities. You have to shortlist potential opportunities. You have to write to those potential opportunities. And then you can have the first round of conversation. That's only till you enter to talk to them, right? Once you start talking to them, there's a bunch of other things that you do. Let's say they invite you to give a proposal, then you sort of create a proposal draft. Then you get it reviewed, then you get it iterated, then you sort of go back to the team. You add more sections. So for fundraising alone, you have multiple series of steps. So there are different AI tools out there today that can help you for each of these things. One thing I think as a team here, I think all of us as a panelist, I think we might collaborate to put out a toolkit soon in terms of what are the different AI tools that you can use. I think there's definitely, we should do that. But I think for fundraising, if you look at it for sourcing opportunities, there's few AI tools you can use. I think the one common one I think all of us know is, I think of course ChatGPT and Gemini are there, but these you can use actually for drafting your first proposals, to iterating your proposals, to getting feedback on your proposal also. One of the things AI tools are good at is actually giving you feedback on the draft that you do. One of the experiments we are part of with one of our partners is looking at how can communities or smaller nonprofits use AI tools, and we're trying to train smaller nonprofits and individuals on the ground to use AI tools, because now language has suddenly not become a barrier. Before, English was becoming a barrier to speak. Now suddenly language is out of the go, right? You can actually put in any kind of English or any word, any language you know. And to some extent, ChatGPT is actually able to understand what you're asking and give you a draft back in English, which is amazing. So, sorry, back on the question, I think the question was around what are different AI tools you can use for systems and process. So rather than sort of naming some tools that will sort of, and I think we can share a list across after this call, we can share a link across with a whole series of tools you can use. We would say that look at your current processes that you have and look at what you want to make faster or smoothen or speeden up, right? And then sort of leverage a tool, because if you start tool first or if you start technology first, you might sort of end up doing the process that the tool is giving you without knowing the process, which is something I think all of us in the team here will not definitely encourage. Please look at the process first. But coming back for the tools for this work that we do, the most common one I would say definitely ChatGPT is something that's, compared to most other tools we've vetted, I think ChatGPT is definitely showing promise in terms of the models it's trained on, how it's able to respond, the context it understands, compared to every other tool at least that we have noticed. So that's a good start you can use. The second tool actually, which I personally love, is this tool called Napkin AI. Napkin AI is basically, I write a lot of text, and often I know no one wants to read the text that I write. So I'm like, you know what, can we make it shorten? So Napkin AI is a wonderful tool that, shortens your text and makes it visually appealing. It sort of visualizes your text, right? The other one which I really love is called Julius AI. Julius AI is a data analysis tool. It's a really good tool out there which talks about how can you make, yes, I see some words already in for Napkin AI. So Julius AI is a tool which helps you analyze your data. So there are these different tools that you can use. And I think Jeshri and I will try and share a list across with Apurva as well in terms of what are these tools. But yeah, that's a quick answer is please look at the process first and then sort of map out in the process what you want to automate. And then quick search on Google, ChatGPT. Right? Actually, go to ChatGPT and you can do a quick search. Hey, for fundraising, what are the AI tools I can use? It'll give you a bunch of AI tools. So that's what I would nudge. But yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Just to please the skeptics in the room, we could talk a little bit about the challenges and the harms that we really have to be mindful about. Because we're working with people, we're working with a lot of ethical concerns in mind. And it's important to discuss that. Sweety, maybe we can get you in here and you could talk to us about why you apply this in Bhiwandi and other communities that you work with. Were there any discussions about all these potential harms and challenges?
So yes, as I told you that we had designed a protocolized way of doing the capacity building and orientation of each and every participants and each and every program team for building their AI literacy. So that was extremely important, because first phase when we introduced our bot, that time it was not AI enabled, but and that was the reason we did not integrate during the first phase. When we were really ready and confident, then after building the AI literacy about the risk, the harm, as I talked about, like informed consent. So everything we did it place, and then we finally launched. And then when you actually implement it, you keep getting lot of queries, a lot of questions from the women who like what is not able to answer, and sometimes like it might give inappropriate answer, and especially that it is a health related questions that we cannot afford to go wrong. That's why I said that we kept training the bot to escalate the questions which were out of the scope of the bot, so that bot can refer the women to the right places. We also got experience that some of the women really felt annoyed that what is the use of asking you if you are asking me to go to the ASHA worker or go to the nearest health system. But that is a real life situation. But then also we had to continuously position it in a way that they should be able to not consider this as a challenge, as a replacement. But I will like to talk about one small challenge, and then I'll pause. Is like changing nature of the phone numbers. So we onboarded, we did the orientation, everything. Finally, the user started using it, and then they changed the phone number. Sometimes it is as frequently as maybe 3 times in 3 months, and then again you reorient from the beginning. So it was definitely very, very challenging situation for us. So far, we have not got any solution for it, but still I thought I'll just share this because everybody will come to know. And if anybody has a solution, then you all can share with me later. So over to you, Jashri.
Thank you. Prashna, I'd like to bring you in here, and maybe an additional aspect to look at is something that our participants have also touched on is how do we balance innovative ideas and technology? Are we all then thinking the same? Are we training ourselves to think the same way, but while the problems are different and complex?
So, Jayashree, I also want to add on to the previous point, that we were discussing. I think so far, when we look at all the programs, right, irrespective of who is doing it, it can be the government, it can be the CSOs. We've typically taken a top-down approach. And we know that this really does not work at scale, right? And the real way to, or rather the most effective way to go about this is to use a bottom-up approach. And what does it also entail? It's not about we go give solutions to the communities. We have to work with them to create it. And we have to work with them to keep making it better, where all of us become equal participants, so to speak, right? And we also have to remember that it's time maybe we flip our communities from being the last mile to the first mile, because these are the communities are the ones who are affected by a problem, and they're the ones who are coming up with innovative solutions on a daily basis to actually address their problems and needs, right? So how can we even take all their innovations as well and make it available in a democratic manner, right? So it always goes back to how do we engage with our communities, right? And there's another aspect as well. I'm sure all of us who've been to the field at any point in time in the program journey, we have faced how people look at us as exploiters of sorts, right? I can be from the government, I can be from the CSO. They're like, you just come, you just keep taking from us, but you don't really change our reality, right? So we have to also do everything that we can to help them feel that we're empowering them, that we're enabling them to solve their own challenges as well. And that we're not here to just keep taking from them, but we're also here to give it back from what we've taken from them as well, right? So to your next question, the way we look at technology in Apurva, Jayashree, is technology, AI, whatever it is, assistive at its best, right? We should never leave the decision to AI. Right? It's always about human in the loop. Technology is only here to enable us to make our life better, but technology is not here to solve anything for us. The moment we maybe give that power or that agency to technology? I think that's a larger question than we'll have to really start thinking about. Right. So those are my 2 cents on that topic.
Thank you. Thank you. Apurva, do you have any insights on this, on how do we go about managing so many stakeholders and who's adopting technology and specifically AI in which way? How do we think about who's going to use what tools? Um, Honestly, it's quite overwhelming for anyone to understand what tool to choose, what to do.
Yes. No, I echo the sentiment behind the question, Jayashree. It is quite a fragmented and, like you said, almost an overwhelming space. And like we were touching upon, that different stakeholders come from different perspectives as well. In addition to different stakeholders, also, given the sector, a lot of people are at different stages of their own awareness and adoption as well. Like how we say about India, India is multiple timelines rolled into one India 2, India 3, however we want to define it. A similar situation is with funders, with CSOs. They are all at a different stage of awareness, acceptance, as well as then adoption. I use these terms in its sequence because first you have to become aware of something, that it exists. Thankfully, with AI, that problem is getting easier and easier because information dissemination is becoming easier. But the next stage is acceptance in a balanced way, that every technology has its pros and as well as has some risks which might need to be mitigated. And then comes adoption, and then comes integration and scale. So what we are seeing, and which is something that we go deep into, how to form cohorts and groups of engagements that we can then address communication in the best way, is to maybe combine some of the stakeholders from the high adopters. Like we all have seen some NGOs that have really become AI first, right? SNEHA is doing some good work, but then there's Noura Health. There are other NGOs which have really gone ahead and adopted AI quite natively into their program, especially in the education and the health domains. This is seemingly quite prevalent. Then we have the middle range of NGOs where data and technology awareness and acceptance and adoption has started. But they need to be supported with capacity. And when I say capacity, it's about resources of human resources existing in the organization or a tech partner existing with the right skill sets. And then comes the funding resources as well. And then on the other end, we have the grassroots NGOs or the extremely low tech awareness NGOs, where the needs could look very different. It could simply look like having laptops for their MLE individuals. You'd be surprised in grassroots NGOs, we don't have laptops or even internet connectivity, or sometimes even tables and chairs in their offices. So their infrastructural needs are quite different. So we approach different stage of NGOs differently. With the high stage of NGOs, high tech adoption stage of NGOs, they're quite privy to the tools and technologies that exist because they have the team members internally who can do all this research and suggest the tool that best fits their use case. With the mid-range, where a lot of our work revolves around, is our approach is to take some of the early adopters and the high adoption NGOs and use them as guiding forces or just motivational forces into that advisory, into seeing what's working for different other organizations, and take examples and then work backwards from what this NGO could do to break out into that high-tech adoption. Also, capacity building programs are a great fit here. The cohort programs that I was mentioning around data and technology, and in the future, AI will start playing more of a role in those same programs, will help them break into that adoption to a scale cycle. And thirdly, on the grassroots NGOs, which we directly work with through our Rebuild India Fund program, there our approach is to meet them wherever they are. if they are in the stage where they need to start adopting more of the Google suite or the Microsoft suite, as well as maybe the WhatsApp-based surveys, because that's most convenient for them, then we start from that so that they are able to do the best they can in the resources that they are currently operating it, while we also support them with resources. So yeah, we try and segment the different stages of the organizations and do the best that they can benefit from where they are. But in terms of tools and technologies available, in addition to what I think Tony was sharing earlier, go to AI and ask, get as descriptive as you can with your use case, with your stage, with your resources. Keep things anonymous. Don't share confidential data, but as detailed a brief through prompt engineering, if you can define, it will give a really good list of resources that are available currently. There are landscape studies as well that are available in the sector. Some of them I've seen published through maybe ILS and Giving Tuesday. There's one that Dasra is working on. I know there's one that 10x Impact is working on. That can help with toolkits and availability of resources. And thirdly, I would say, in addition to asking AI, looking at toolkits and landscape studies that are available, the third thing would be references. Ask people, the sector, as diverse and overwhelming as it can seem like, but is also very connected and very supportive. So if you know organizations, you should also be able to figure out who they are working with and get references and speak to people. And that has personally been very informative into discovering new technologies and new tool providers for us as well. Back to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Different stakeholders, like you rightly said, I think the sentiment is going to remain for a while before we understand and visibly see how each of us can really use it. We had asked our audience a question in the form of a poll, so I'm quickly pulling that out for you. And if the four of you could respond or react to it, that will be great. The question we asked was, what does the future of AI in the social sector look like to you? The options were better tools for monitoring and evaluation, faster service delivery, new ways to listen to community voices, can help scale impact of services, could increase inequality, and the last was might prioritize data over lived experience. Our top two polled options are first one at 82%, better tools for monitoring and evaluation, and the second is new ways to listen to community voices. Quite positive, both. Do you all agree? Do you disagree? Are we there yet? Or how far are we from reaching that?
I think we are on the path.
So, go ahead.
Yeah. No, I love how optimistic the audience of the session is. And Jayashree and the other panelists, when we were discussing this session, we were all seeing whether we'll have optimists or pessimists in the group. So really lovely to see more optimists than pessimists in the group. Personally, I see myself as sort of a cautious, pragmatic person where I think all of these positive approaches will come true. We will have better access to tools, technologies, resources, toolkits, all of it, as well as we'll have better ear for the voice of the community and hearing those inputs bottoms up from the community upward. But I would also say that the responsibility of adopting them safely lies on us and all of the different stakeholders that we mentioned, the tool providers, the catalysts, the NGOs, and everyone in addition to those. Because some of the things that I think Sweety touched upon in terms of challenges of AI, whether it's around integrating it into the current process flow of the NGO into scaling, into being able to do the iterative changes if phone numbers are changing or the message is changing or the knowledge base from which answers have to be given, those are changing, that being able to iterate, being able to integrate, being able to troubleshoot on the fly, all of that will play a very important role here, as well as something that we all can't emphasize enough is the importance of keeping the data safe, because the data at the end does not belong to us, does not belong to the intermediaries or the partners or the technology builders. It belongs to the community which it represents. So it has to be safeguarded or anonymized in a way if it's being used in AI tools that don't have policies where it's going to be used for training later on or not. So there are ways of anonymizing data before using in technology. So those will also be really important in the long term to keep the unintended consequences of AI out of the picture and focus on the intended consequences, which is the impact towards the community. Back to you.
Thank you. Rachna, would you like to react to
Yes.
the poll results?
Absolutely, Jayashree. I think me being a representative of Apurva.ai especially, I'm so happy to hear about these top 2 responses, right? Because these are exactly the things that we've been working towards to making a reality. So I'm very happy to know that the sector is also, looking at using technology in these ways, right? So my message or what I would love to tell the community is, I think, not just as Apurva.ai, right? But I think there are a few of us who are really working very hard with the same intention in mind, right? And we have developed our own ways of using technology to address these needs. So it's just about, the problem and the solution fitment, I think we are not too far from actually making it a reality in a large way. So very happy to hear these poll answers. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to quickly bring in Tony here to, in a minute or two, react to that. And then over to Sweety. Probably some good voices that you've already heard from the ground, Sweety, on how people are reacting to it will be a good note to close the session on.
Thanks, Jashi. I echo what I think Apurva and Jashi said. Apurva and I think Rachna said. When we were doing prep for the session, I agree. Apurva, we were talking about being on the optimist side, being on the pessimist side, but I love what Apurva said, being a pragmatic on this, right? I think what I would like to say is I think the top 2 results makes a lot of sense, because I think where we are seeing AI go toward is fundamentally being 2 things for us, right? One, AI is moving towards helping you augment capacity in different forms and shapes, right? Fundamentally, it's capacity either on the technical side or on the day-to-day work side. And that's where AI is going. But to go there, how does it go there? Fundamentally through context and the training it goes through. So there's a lot of efforts around which even Apurva is doing, perhaps we are doing, perhaps on our own AI tools, right? At the same time, globally, partners who are building larger AI LLM models are training the platforms. So as more context is coming into this, I think the tools are becoming better and better, and more people are building it for specific users. So the generalist AI tool like ChatGPT was never built for one user. We were in a conversation recently in Bangalore. The partner might be here. Pacta had launched a report, and one of the partners said AI was never, like ChatGPT was never built for the social sector. It was built as a general purpose AI tool. Now, as we go forward in this AI journey, as more tools get developed more specifically for the sector, specifically for the users, I think the power of it will increase. What I would like to talk perhaps about is a simple rule of thumb with AI, right? Or AI or technology. Please know that it's not a magic wand, right? It is end of the day just a tool. And as everyone, I think all of us, you might be seeing how we're talking about it. It can only help you with your process existing work, right? It can't do something that is already not happening for you. It can't analyze data if the data is not there. It can't give you better visualization if the data is not accurately captured. Similarly, I think it can't help you design a better questionnaire if your program theory of change, your program curriculum is not fully there, right? So similarly, I think AI tool has some potential, but at the same time, a lot of limitations also. Perhaps the only request I would have in the community, perhaps I would share on behalf of all the partners here, would be double clicking on what Apurva said. Never ever upload any community data or community personal data on any of the platforms. We still don't know. Some of the open source platforms also data is going and sitting in open source buckets. So please be careful when you're uploading data into any databases or any online platforms. So please never upload with any of your personal indicators. Just be careful of that. That's the one rule of thumb I think we would always encourage the sector to be. Please be careful of. Second, if you're using AI with the community, anytime you're using AI with the community, it's a ethical responsibility to let them know the tool you're using. Right? I think Sweety, in different ways, they've done it through their, consent forms and through their other forms. And even I'm sure Apurva, with the work they're doing, Dasra or Rashna, when they're doing the work with their partners, state government on non-profits, it's very important for us to sort of let the community know. They understand it or not is the second part of it, but the first part is ethically it's our responsibility to let them know that you're using some layers of tools, right? That's the second, perhaps, thing I would sort of echo. But at the same time, I would say I'm definitely excited about what's happening with tech and data and AI, but I would perhaps there's more capacity needed. I think what the sector perhaps needs and what I think Dasra is already doing, we are trying to do a bit and a few other partners are doing, is to build the capacity of the sector to use these tools more responsibly and safely, right? I think that's where I think I would sort of pause it. But thank you again for the opportunity to be here and share some of our learnings. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Sweety, some quick thoughts. Is there something that you relate to, not relate to with the poll?
Yeah, so definitely very, very happy to see the response, especially the second response, because, like incorporating diverse voices from the community is also our aim and effort that we are making, especially when health equity is our focus. And we can gradually include women with no literacy as well as women with low literacy in the entire paradigm when we start building AI, which is user friendly. They use mostly like voice to voice messages and visual aids so that they can really find it very, very, very easy to use. But that's not easy because to do that. And for that, I think we need to continuously create a learning environment where other community members, champions, volunteers, and definitely the NGO team, they all are working in the space, should be able to continuously counsel these women, orient, and do the capacity building of these women. Then only I think they could be able to use this comfortably in the future. So I can recall one incidence where when one woman I met, she was 19 and a half years old. She was a new mother. So she shared that it was 2 a.m. in the night and her baby was crying very much and she was not able to breastfeed. And she was very helpless, didn't know what to do. And suddenly she recalled that Phone Wali Didi was available to us. It was very early stage, I think our second phase of our implementation. And then she started asking questions, and because it's a breastfeeding, very common questions, bot was highly trained in answering properly. So then she could get the advice, and she said that I felt so good about it. Then after like 1 hour, baby could sleep, and then she had a peaceful sleep. So we sometimes take so much of effort, but when we listen to these kind of incidents, it gives us a lot of hope for future. Yes, there are definitely a lot of challenges, but I think most of the challenges we should be able to sort out collectively if we all work together effectively. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Collectively work together is nothing could have been a better way to end this session. Thank you to all the 4 of you for joining us. I would also like to let you know that we have another session. That's the third and the final session of our Glocal Evaluation series. My colleague will put up more details on that. It's right here. Please do register. It's institutionalizing M&E systems. That's what we're going to be talking about. And it's going to be led by our co-founder, Sharon. At the same time tomorrow, please register, be there. Thank you so much to everyone.